The journey began as countless others had, a routine passage across the vast expanse of the globe. Flight 451, a modern marvel of engineering, prepared for its transatlantic voyage from Dhaka to the bustling metropolis of New York. Over 200 souls, each with their own destination and dreams, settled into their seats. The cabin lights glowed with a steady, reassuring warmth, and the hum of the engines was a familiar lullaby of power and precision. There was nothing to suggest that this particular flight would deviate from its predetermined course. The world outside was a tapestry of night, soon to yield to the dawn. An hour into the flight, a subtle tremor ran through the aircraft, a momentary hiccup in its otherwise flawless operation. The rudder, a critical component for directional control, seemed to twitch, responding erratically to the pilot's commands. It was a fleeting anomaly, quickly dismissed as a minor technical glitch. The cockpit remained silent, devoid of the shrill alarms or flashing warning lights that typically heralded genuine danger. The instruments offered no explanation, their needles holding steady, oblivious to the brief, unsettling spasm. The pilots, seasoned professionals, exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement of the oddity, then returned to their duties. Then, the digital screens embedded in the seatbacks began to flicker, their vibrant displays momentarily replaced by static. When they stabilized, the date displayed was not the current day, but one decades past, a phantom echo from a forgotten calendar. A collective shiver ran through the cabin, an inexplicable chill that had nothing to do with the cabin temperature. Outside the windows, the world seemed to warp. Through the deepening twilight, fleeting glimpses of other aircraft appeared, not the sleek jets of their own era, but antiquated biplanes and lumbering propeller-driven machines. The clouds themselves took on an unnatural, bruised hue, and the sun, which should have been rising, seemed to vanish entirely, swallowed by an encroaching darkness. The turbulence intensified, but it was unlike any storm they had ever encountered. The plane bucked and shuddered with a violence that defied the calm air outside, as if an unseen hand gripped and shook it. The instruments in the cockpit spun wildly, their readings nonsensical, a chaotic dance of needles and digits. The very fabric of reality seemed to fray around them. The aircraft felt as though it had detached from its moorings, adrift in an ocean of pure chaos. The rudder, which had initially malfunctioned, now seemed to simply cease to exist, its presence a forgotten concept in the maelstrom. A sudden, jarring lurch, and then, an eerie calm descended. The plane began its descent, a welcome relief washing over the passengers, a collective sigh of gratitude for their apparent escape. They braced themselves for the familiar sight of a modern runway, the welcoming lights of a bustling international airport. But what greeted them was not the New York they knew. The landscape below was alien, a patchwork of unfamiliar structures and anachronistic vehicles. The airport, if it could even be called that, was a ghost from another time, its contours starkly different from their expectations. The tarmac beneath them was cracked and weathered, bearing the scars of decades. Surrounding their sleek, modern jet were aircraft that belonged in museums, their wings adorned with the insignia of a forgotten conflict. Old-fashioned propeller planes, their engines sputtering, lined the runways. Figures moved about the airfield, their attire a startling tableau from a history book. Men in fedoras and women in victory roles, their faces etched with the concerns of a different age, bustled with an unfamiliar purpose. The air itself seemed to carry the scent of coal smoke and distant memory. Airport staff and local officials approached the colossal, gleaming aircraft with a mixture of awe and profound bewilderment. An officer, his uniform a relic of the past, stared up at the plane, his voice laced with suspicion as he questioned if they were aliens. The passengers, reaching for their phones, found them inert, their GPS systems useless, their digital lives suddenly meaningless. The pilots, their instruments now completely dead, stared out at the impossible scene. The chilling realization dawned upon them, a truth too profound to comprehend. Flight 451 had not merely diverted, it had been hurled backward through the currents of time, landing squarely in the year 1945. A profound silence fell over the passengers, a heavy cloak woven from confusion, fear, and an undeniable, terrifying awe. They were stranded, marooned in a past that was not their own, their very existence a paradox. To reveal their origins would be to shatter the delicate fabric of history, to invite unimaginable consequences. A whisper, carried on the wind that swept across the antiquated tarmac, seemed to echo from the very air itself. It was a chilling pronouncement, a dire warning that settled deep into their bones. You don't belong here, and you can never return. The future, once a certainty, had become an unwritten, terrifying void.